Hey, welcome to our weekly Forex forecast call here. This is for trading for the week of May 13th to the 17th of 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so let's dive in. As usual, we'll get started by taking a look at our calendar here. So we'll go to this week. Okay, so coming up in terms of our news, we do have FOMC members speaking here, a couple of FOMC members early in the week. And Tuesday here, we have employment data from UK here. So these are important figures that usually do make a difference, or they will move British pounds. So we have to pay attention to this. This is important. So average earnings as well as employment data here. And we have that for Australia as well. Wage index here, this will be important. So we'll pay attention to that. On Wednesday here, we have CPI numbers, which is our inflation numbers for Canada. And inflation numbers are important because it's one of the main numbers that the central banks will track. So this usually will move the market. And then we have retail sales numbers for the US. That will also be important and can move the market. We have employment data, or further employment data, I should say, from Australia in the Asian session. And a lot of times we find that, especially right now, the liquidity has been low, or it was low in the Asian session. So these numbers that come out in the Asian sessions can have a quick impact on the market, and a number of times they will then, the inefficient move will get filled. So keep that in mind. On Thursday, we have this, in Eurozone, we have Jerome Powell, President Weidman speaking here. A lot of times these speeches can have an impact on the market if they talk about the economic conditions of the country. So this could impact the euro. And then we have Bank of Canada, Governor Powell speaking. He has spoken a few times, so this speech may not be as impactful. However, anytime they make comments in regards to the economy or the forecast here, that could have an impact, because now the market will be looking to see what Bank of Canada is going to do, whether they'll continue raising rates or are they going to hold it, or some people are also suggesting they may start cutting rates. So it's an interesting times in terms of what central banks are going to do. So from monetary policy perspective, this will be important here. And then Friday, we have Eurozone CPI numbers. Even though they're not marked as red, they are important here. And we have elections in Australia. So if you have any Australian dollar trades here, you'll have to be careful with this, and even going into the weekend, because it can create gaps and such over the weekend. And aside from that, stuff that has been going on lately has been the US-China trade talks. They did not go as well as market was hoping, but what they left it at saying they will continue the talks further, which created that uptick in the market. So at first the way things were going, it looked like the talks would break down. So they didn't really get the results that they were hoping for. But in the end, they left it saying they are going to likely continue. US did put tariffs on China, but let's see. But it doesn't look like the markets are really taking it as like an ominous sign. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as we trade. So it will have an impact on Japanese yen crosses as well as the equity markets. Let's go on to our charts now. Okay, so as usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our euro here. So last week we did have a slightly bullish candle, And we have seen that price is still trading in that range. It's pushed up all the way into the high there. So it is still bullish. And this one could go further. So this is where we are at 1.1265 level here. I think this one could go up further because this is kind of where price has been for the last little bit here. So if the US dollar weakness continues, which is what we got last week here, this is likely to go up higher. So I would say bias is bullish here. Now we do have to be careful right at this level where we are currently, or slightly higher here, because we are into support resistance level. As we can see, price has reacted at this level previously, so it is an important level. So if price goes through 1.1265 level, then very likely that it'll go to 1.1320, and then that's where if it still continues on, it could go all the way to 1.1420. So right now, I'm looking for price to go into this 1320 level, but if something impacts US dollar in a negative way, this could continue further. But this will be my first target here. So bullish bias for euro dollar, looking at 1.1320 level, but it could potentially go all the way into 1420. So keep that in mind. For now, bias is bullish for euro dollar. Pound here, pound has been interesting. It has dropped here. So it was in the top, at the top of the range here. And we had talked about that, and now it has come back down. So this has a bearish bias here. I think this one could drop further. So bias here is bearish. 1.2870 would be the target to the downside. Could go further into 1.2800, but right now bias is bearish, and I'm looking for price to drop here. So this is kind of what I'm looking for. This will be the first target. Now it could go slightly lower here, right into this area here, because this is the sort of the range that it's been trading in for quite some time now. So looking for it to come down further here. So bearish bias here for pound. Aussie dollar here, this one hasn't really done a whole lot. It's just been in this range for the last little while here. It still stayed below this 1.7050 level. So this is the important support and resistance level here. It stayed below it. So I would say it is range bound at the moment. So it could go up further, but then I will look for it to come back down. So stay within this range between 70.50 and 69.50, but it could drop further down here as well. So overall, the bias here still is to the downside here. So still in that bearish bias, but it could push up a bit, and then I'm looking for it to drop. So this one is neutral for now, but overall, this is bearish. New Zealand dollar here. New Zealand dollar was actually a little bit what do we call it? It was a little bit stronger here, even though they did cut the interest rates, which was unexpected. So based on the interest rate cut, it dropped, and then it pulled right back up. So we have this indecision candle right now, but with this one here as well, it is bearish overall. It went right into the support and then pulled back up. So with this, again, neutral bias, but I think I will look for price to push up a little bit higher here into 0.6650 level, and then look for that move to the downside. So overall bias still remains bearish, but I think this one could push back up into this previous level here at 6650, and then look for that drop from there. So neutral bias there. Dollar CAD, this one has also been range bound for the last couple of weeks here. Hasn't really done, or 3 weeks, hasn't really done much. It's just stuck in this range. So as we can see here, last week, this was neutral. This week, this one is neutral as well. We have small candle body with pins on both sides. So basically, this is still range bound. So this is what we see here, range bound move at the moment. So, excuse me, I will look for price to play the range here. So when we see the range break, that's the direction we would take. But for now, this is looking neutral. So we could have one of these moves this is what I'm looking for right now. So continuation of that range bound move. But if, let's say, it were to break down, let's say the numbers, CPI numbers come in positive, then it could go into this 1.3270 level. Or if it breaks out, then to the upside here, it could go into 1.3565 level. But for now, I am looking for a range-bound move and looking for a continuation of this previous range-bound move. This is what I would look for. But at some point, ranges will break, price will break out of the range. So we just have to be, keep that in mind and be vigilant about that. But for now, it is neutral and range bound. Euro pound here, Euro pound has been going back and forth as well. So we saw that price was back into the support here. And now it has pushed off of the support. Now it's going towards the top of the range. This has also been range bound for several weeks now. And I would still continue to look for a range bound move here. So looking for price to go up higher. It could go into 0.8720 level. So do watch out for that. But for now, it is slightly bullish, looking for it to continue a little bit higher. And then I would look for a range bound move again. So this one is also neutral. Euro Swiss franc here, this one has also been trading in a range. So a lot of pairs have been trading in the range for a little bit here. And as we can see here, there are several pins to the top side, which suggests that price could drop. So with this one here, so last time we had, so basically 3 weeks in a row, we have had pins, and it is making slightly lower highs. So overall bias seems to be to the downside, but it could again push up higher and then give us this type of a move. So for now, I'm looking for price to drop, but watch out for this range. It can go back all the way to the top and then drop from there. So these range bound moves, they can just go back and forth. So just be careful when you're trading them. Overall, though, it is biased to the downside because it has rejected this high. So slowly, I will look for price to come back towards a 1.1260 level here, back into this support resistance level. So slightly bearish bias here. Pound Swiss franc, this one has dropped. And as we can see, it bounced off of this resistance, and we have a nice bearish candle close here. Now, there is support coming up into 1.3100, but bias is bearish. I'm looking for price to drop here. So back into the support resistance level at 1.2980. So bearish bias here for our pound Swiss franc, back into this level here. Dollar Swiss franc, this one has dropped. It was trading in a range for quite some time, and now it's finally pulled out of that range. As we can see, price went and tested the high and then dropped from there. So now we have a nice bearish candle close here. So I would look for price to drop further. The next target here, so there's a bunch of support resistance in this area, so we just have to be careful. The next level is or it could actually go all the way into 1.00 level. So that will be the target here. But watch out for this area around here, 1.0045 level here as well, because there is a bunch of support resistance all the way here. So keep that in mind. But for now, that's a nice bearish pin bar here. So looking for price to drop, bearish bias for dollar Swiss franc. Pound yen here, this one has dropped nicely. It was right into the support resistance level last time. It has dropped from there. Finally, it's moving lower. So bias is bearish here. Target would be 141.20 level. And now, or that's where we'll have the support level. So it could bounce from there. So be mindful of that. But if we do see it continue, it could go into 139.50 level. But I would be careful in this area here because this is where it struggled last time as well. So for now, bias is bearish. 141.20 first target, 139.80 will be the second target. Euro yen here, euro had picked up some strength. It did have a nice drop. Last time we had a pin bar, had a nice drop into this support level. And this is where we have a completely neutral candle close. We have this doji, there's price opened and closed at exactly the same level. So this is neutral right now. What I would look for here would be potentially a push into that level again, 124.20-ish level. And then if it stays below this one here, then I will look for price to drop once again. But this is neutral for this week, which means it can go in either direction. But I will look to trade the highs and lows of this candle, because this is where we're likely to see the reaction. So if it goes into the high of this candle, I will look for a drop. If it goes into the bottom here, I will look for price to push back up. So neutral bias for euro yen. Dollar yen here, this one has been weak. We saw last time we had a pin here, we saw a nice drop. It's back into the support here, but it's still bearish. So this one could drop further. 108.70 will be the target here. So bearish bias for dollar yen here. Aussie yen, this one has dropped, but as we can see, it pushed off of the support level here, and now we have a neutral candle close. So with the yen crosses, they are, they were being impacted by President Trump's tweets, as well as what was going on with US-China trade negotiations. And any comments from that will, again, have impact on all the yen crosses. So do keep in mind, even though the trade talks finished, or the trade talks didn't finish, just the previous meetings that they had this last week are done, but they said that they are likely to continue these talks. So there will be further comments coming out of it, especially now when US has put tariffs on China. We could see some retaliation from that side. So let's see how that plays out, but it will have an impact on the yen crosses. So that's something definitely that we need to keep in mind. Here, this is New Zealand yen. Again, this one has pushed off of the bottom here as well. And now we have a neutral candle close. So I would again look to play the high and the low of the candle. It is neutral again. Like I said, they are being impacted by the comments that are coming out in regards to US-China trade negotiations. So this is kind of what I'm looking for price to go into the high, and then that could be a good point to trade. If it comes into the bottom, it could bounce off once again as well. But bias is neutral based on the candle close here, not a very strong candle. CAD yen here, this one is also neutral, as we can see. Price dropped on the tweets, especially on the open there. President Trump's tweet had come on the weekend, and it had caused the price to gap down in all the yen crosses. But towards the end of the week, we saw that the equity markets retreated, went back up, and the yen crosses went back up as well. So right now, here we have a neutral candle close. Again, I would look to play the highs and lows of the candle. So if it goes into the high, looking for it to drop, goes into the bottom, we could get one of these moves again. So bias here for CAD yen as well is neutral. All right, so let's take a look at our commodities now. Gold hasn't really done a whole lot. It's still trading in this range here. Now, it has bounced off of this level twice, and now we are into the resistance here. So this could continue up further. The question will be, can it hold above this 1288 level? If it holds above this level here, this is where price has been stuck for a while. This was going, it was range bound as well. So there is bullishness in it, in this candle, not a hugely bullish candle, but there is still bullishness in the candle. See, this candle here is very similar to this here. And it shows that it went to the next level. So it could go all the way into 1298 or 1300 level and then come down. As we can see, there is support resistance in this level here. So I I would say that we could see this move further up, but only if it breaks through this current resistance at 1287. If it does not get through this, so it could just do a test of the high and then come back down, because this has also been trading in a range. So right now there's a slight bullish bias. The target here will be 1298 or 1300 level for our gold. Oil has been trading in a range for a few days. If you take a look at the weekly, as we can see, it's still sitting range bound. So the bias is neutral here. It could go in either direction. So right now, this is the range it's been trading in. So I would say for now, I think I will look for a drop here back into the support resistance level. If it does not break it, then looking for it to continue back up and continue on with this range bound move. As we can see, a lot of different things are in ranges currently, and so we have to wait for the ranges to break. But for now, based on this Friday's close, I will look for price to go towards the bottom here of the range, 60.50, and then potentially bounce off. If it does break down, then we're looking for price to go into this 50-20 level, because this is the range where price was stuck for quite some time. So it's likely that price will come into the bottom here, and it may become a range bound there as well. So that's what we're looking at in terms of oil here. Copper, again, price is traded in a range. It does have a slight bearish bias here, but as we can see, it's quite neutral here. We have pins on both sides, small candle body. This is a neutral candle close. And when we get a candle like this, price can move in either direction. This is a neutral candle. So this candle right here is similar to this candle here, and see where price went in both directions after that. So a bias is neutral for copper as well. Same thing here as well. I would look for price to go into the high and then look for a potential drop from there, go into the bottom and look for a potential reversal there as well. But like I said, we just have to be careful with these and do watch out for the breaks, because they will break at some point. The ranges don't continue on forever. Silver here. Silver has a slight bearish bias here. As we can see, it did drop. And the next target here, so bias is bearish here. I will look for it to drop into this 14.57 level and then 14.20 level. So bias is bearish for silver. Bitcoin has been going up. And my charts, like I said, they don't get updated for Bitcoin on the weekend. So please do look at the latest charts here. But it's been very bullish here. So we had talked about how if price stayed above this level, it's likely to continue. And there was this big gap here or inefficient move that could get filled. It has filled that. And now it is continuing higher. I think it's all the way up, moving towards this level here. It could turn around here. So that's something to keep in mind. It could turn around at 73.60 level and come back down, because this would be quite a big move here. And this is our next support resistance level. And as we can see, price reacted here, here, here. So that's that. And there's some positive news coming out, or I should say overall, a lot of people, Facebook is doing their own cryptocurrencies, so a lot of positive news for cryptocurrencies. So there's bullishness in it right now. I would also look to this next peak for the Bitcoin here. Oh, hit 7.5K. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, so a lot of positive news, especially with Facebook announcing their own cryptocurrency. They also said that they are not going to ban the Facebook any more cryptocurrency ads from Facebook, which they had banned before. So now they're opening it up, which is, and I think someone else came out saying they're going to do cryptocurrency as well. So overall, it is bullish right now. So next target will be this peak here at 8,400. So bullish bias here for Bitcoin. All right, so let's take a look at the equity markets here. Equity markets were interesting because of the back and forth that we saw with the tweets with the US-China trade negotiations, they were basically up and down here. So we did see a drop. They finished up, or they finished the day up on Friday. So we see that price rejected the support level twice back to back here. So this is looking bullish right now. Well, on the weekly it's neutral, but on the daily here looking bullish. So I think we could see another move here towards the high. And then I will look for a reaction from there. Bias is neutral though, as we can see, the price is just, it's in a range. So this is looking very similar to the yen crosses as well. So I would keep an eye on both of them as you're trading. If you're trading yen, keep an eye on the equities because they tend to move in tandem. So with this one, I would just, again, trade the highs and the lows. Price could go all the way into this next support resistance level at 29.45 and then drop from there. If it goes into the bottom, it could get rejected and move back up. So it is neutral right now. And let's take a look at NASDAQ here on the weekly. This is also neutral. As we can see, price bounced off of the bottom. So there are pins on both sides. This is neutral. So I will look for price to, so big rejection here. So this could move back up. And once it gets into the next resistance level, so right now I will look for it to go higher into 7,800 potentially, and then we could get this type of a move. So Friday, it was bullish. The equities were bullish on Friday and closed the day high. Same thing here with our Japanese Nikkei as well. This one could go higher. That's a bullish candle. So this one could go into this 21865 level, or even all the way up there. But this one is a little bit more bearish than the US equities here. So with this one, I will look for price to potentially pull back higher like that, and then come back down. So this has more of a bearish bias than the than NASDAQ or S&P 500. DAX here, this one is also looking neutral. We have pins on both sides, small candle body. With this as well, I would look for a potential move higher, either into the high of the candle, but I think this one could go into this next level here as well. So right now, I will look for it to go into 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 level here, and then potentially bounce off of that. This one here, FTSE looks bullish. It rejected this twice. So this one could go higher as well. I will look for it to potentially test 73.80. However, if it drops from here, if it only goes into 7,300, then this one could drop further as well. So it looks like either a pullback or a slight pullback, or it could recover this entire move from last week, but then I would look for a further drop there. So overall, our FTSE is a bit weaker, and Nikkei is weak as well. The rest seem to be strong at the moment. All right, so that's all I have. If you would like the spreadsheet that comes along with this, you need to go to tradingwithvenus.com and then /forecast. That's where you need to go in order to get the spreadsheet that comes with it. It will ask you to, if you have already subscribed to this previously, you will get an email from me. However, if you have not subscribed to this previously, then please do subscribe here if you like the spreadsheet that I put out with every weekly forecast. All right, so that's all I have. Any questions before we wrap this up here? Yeah, and banks are scared. It's just interesting times right now with the trade relations and monetary policy stuff. Everybody's kind of looking at how US and China do. All right, any other comments? Oh, Bitcoin. Yes, I think, yeah, I have my own opinions on that. I think we will move towards cryptocurrency. I think that one is a done deal at this point. I think we did have a bit of a bubble there in the Bitcoin, but overall, I think in the next 10 years, we are definitely moving towards cryptocurrency. I think the financial markets will change, or especially the banks. Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. Interesting time in the markets right now because this is, again, big shift that's going to happen. So that's it for now. So let's wrap it up. You guys enjoy the rest of your day and have a great trading week. I will see you again next week. Nick, yes, I think banks will have to. All right, that's it. Bye for now.